Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Cook With Me TV. I'm Ashley Thomas, the dietitian behind Cook With Me TV. Thanks for tuning in. I see we have a couple people on. Hey Kathleen, good to see you on. Hi Janice. Hey Larry. Hey Anthony. Thanks guys so much for tuning in. Always a pleasure to see you here. I love talking with you on the show. So as you saw in the description, tonight we are cooking up okra in a different way. We typically in the South have it battered and fried, which is no doubt delicious, but it's good for you to switch it up a little bit and do it this way. So what we're gonna do is coat it in Panko breadcrumbs, which if you tuned in last week, you saw that we did a Panko coated zucchini that we put in some tacos. So the same idea is here with the okra. We're not gonna fry it, we're gonna roast it in the oven, and it's still gonna get nice and crispy. In fact, I would argue that it's actually crispier than true fried okra, because let's go ahead and get that started. We are gonna use the whole pods. So this is okra. If you are not sure what okra looks like, this is what it is. And it typically is slimy once you start to cook it. So the actual cooking and heating up of okra makes it slimy. But it's not actually very slimy in this recipe because we're not cutting the okra open. We're leaving it whole and we're breading it whole. So we're gonna go ahead and get these guys started because that whole process takes some time. And then we'll go ahead and get on our stewed shrimp, a quick stewed shrimp. We're just gonna mix some peppers and onions, garlic, and some other vegetables in sort of a nice kind of tomato-y veggie broth. And then add the shrimp in there, and shrimp don't take very long to cook, so it's gonna come together pretty quickly, and it's gonna be a nice, delicious meal. Hey Lindsay, thanks for tuning in. So the first thing that we're gonna get started with is the okra. So if you are cooking with me tonight, let's go ahead and get your whole setup ready. So you're gonna want a sheet pan, you're gonna want 2 bowls to do your egg wash and your panko in. So if you're not familiar with panko, this is what panko is. It's a Japanese breadcrumb, and the breadcrumb pieces are larger than Italian breadcrumbs, which is what you normally see at the grocery store. So this is panko. So we're gonna put all of our panko in this other bowl here. And this is where you're probably gonna want a helper. And I totally would have enlisted my husband to do this part, but he's not here right now, which he probably planned on. Oh, you know what? I forgot to season the breadcrumbs. I'm trying to just do this so quickly. So we'll do a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. I usually add oregano into my breadcrumbs. You can add whatever spices you want. If you wanted to spice it up a little bit, you could do some cayenne pepper. You could do chili powder. You could do cumin even, but that would give it a completely different kind of thing. I'm gonna use my go-to, my smoky turmeric. And we'll just mix this all together. Not that you should, bread all of your vegetables, and you might be thinking, I thought, eating breaded vegetables wasn't healthy for you. If that's the only way that you eat your vegetables and you're eating breaded vegetables every day, then, it's probably not the healthiest thing for you. But every now and then, sometimes you get sick of having vegetables the same old way. So it's just a great way to kind of switch it up. Gotta, figure out ways that you can eat vegetables on a regular basis. I know this isn't the most exciting thing, watching me bread okra, but if you're cooking along with me, then you'll be doing this too. So go ahead and grab some kind of deep pot. I'm gonna use this guy. I think it's like a 4-quart, because we are gonna be adding some liquid in here. What we're gonna do first is saute up some onions and some peppers. So in the recipe, you'll see that I have on there to do red peppers and onions, which we are absolutely going to do. But these are really tiny red peppers, and I wanted bigger red peppers, but they didn't have them at the farmer's market. So I'm going to improvise with some Low Country Special shishito peppers. Kathleen and I used these on our show not too long ago when we did a pepper and eggplant curry. They're a very, pretty mild pepper. We just cook them whole. They don't have to chop them up or anything, although we could, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna kind of take off the stems here. And apparently, every now and then, you will get a hot one. So we shall see if we get a hot one tonight. All right, so let's go ahead and cut up these guys. I've got half of a pretty large onion here. I'm gonna finish this guy off. And we will just gonna slice everything. And if you are cooking with me, let's go ahead and get some olive oil in our pot. And we'll get that heated up so we can start sauteing all of this good stuff. Well, you know me, with the olive oil, always adding a little bit in the pan. I don't know, about a teaspoon or so. Turn it on about medium heat. So for people with dietary restrictions out there, this recipe is dairy-free. It is gluten-free. It is not vegan because we're throwing shrimp in there, but you could just do stewed veggies, and in place of the shrimp, you could add beans or something like that if you wanted to make it vegan. And then do a couple cloves of garlic here. Again, great for flavor and for gut health. Okay, so let's go ahead and add these onions first. I usually like to add my onions to a saute as the first thing to add and let it kind of cook down a little bit on its own. Because if you overcrowd the pan, then things steam rather than saute, and I want to get a little bit of a browning going on the onions here. Okay, and we'll start to season with just a touch of salt. A little bit of pepper here. We are going to add some either chicken stock or veggie stock, whatever you have or whatever you want to use. So don't overdo it on the salt right out the gate. You can always add more later. Anything exciting happened today in anyone's life? Or it doesn't have to be exciting. Something slightly eventful, maybe? While you guys are typing that up, I wanted to just quickly tell you about okra. It actually has a few nutrients in it, so it actually gives you 8 of those little pods, give you about almost 50% of your daily need for vitamin K. It also has a little bit of folate in there, B vitamin, and a little bit of vitamin C. We are cooking it down, and vitamin C is not heat stable though, so you don't really get much vitamin C from cooked foods. You kind of have to eat them raw in order to get it. I think we kind of think of okra as just sort of like a starchy kind of vegetable that doesn't have much to offer, but it has a few things to offer. So I'm going to show you the base that I'm going to use, which is what I typically use, is this Better Than Bouillon base. So it's basically a paste, and it's kind of like condensed or concentrated stock. And so we're going to use about a tablespoon of this in here, and we're going to add 3 cups of water to turn it into stock. So if you don't have this on hand, or you don't feel like buying it because you don't really want to commit to using the whole thing, you can always buy some pre-made stock at the grocery store. But I will say that this comes in handy because it lets you control the flavor of your dishes. And you can start out with a little bit of stock, and then if you want it to give it more of a deep flavor, then you can add even more of the base, and it gives you just kind of like a richer flavor. So that's what I like about using this instead of using the stock. I took a glorious, much needed, very refreshing nap this afternoon. Man, that sounds awesome, and I'm jealous. Thanks, Elizabeth. My mom got it for me. I love it too. It's my favorite one that she got for me. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll add our peppers. You can see the onions have gotten pretty soft, and we've got some browning developing here on the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw all these peppers in. I'm gonna get some nice color happening here, as well as the garlic. Oh, Janice, you found out your grandson and his wife are having a baby girl in November. They already have a 2-year-old boy, so thrilled for them. My second grandchild. Oh, congratulations, that's so exciting. And I'm gonna do about 2 tablespoons of the tomato paste just to kind of start out with. I might add a little more. So I feel like this always happens when you want to use tomato paste. You just want to use a little bit from the can, and now you've got a ton left over. I'm curious to hear what suggestions you guys have to do with this. I have a friend who puts this into an ice cube tray and freezes it, and then uses it in soups for later, which I think is a great idea. I just have not gotten around to purchasing a separate ice cube tray for tomato paste. Or you could just as easily scoop it all into a bag or a container and throw that into the freezer as well. Okay, so since we added a teaspoon of this base, I'm gonna go ahead and get 3 cups of water into that pot there so we can get our veggie stock made. Right, 2 and 3. We'll need to add a little bit more water before we add the shrimp in, because as this kind of comes to a simmer or a boil, we're gonna need a little bit more liquid. But I'm gonna leave it as it is and kind of let the vegetables kind of soak up all of that flavor. I'll put a lid on it, let it do its thing. We're gonna go ahead and chop up our scallions, and we're going to also get some some basil. We've got our basil plants out back, which are doing super well. So I've got some basil that I pulled earlier in the week that we're gonna just throw in. That smells so good. It looks like we have a couple of new people on the show tonight. So real quick, let me just tell you what all of this is. This is called Cook With Me TV, and it's a live stream cooking show run by registered dietitians. And we hold shows all throughout the week at 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And we post our recipes ahead of time so that you can actually gather the ingredients that you want to make those recipes. And then when it comes time to cook them, tune into our Facebook show right here and cook alongside us in the kitchen. And so it helps you to just learn a little bit more about nutrition, you know, why we pair certain foods together for the benefit of nutrition, what tastes good, what works well together. So you learn a lot on the show, and actually getting in the kitchen and doing the thing of cooking helps you to create a healthy habit of cooking more at home. So that's it in a nutshell. So fun to watch you. Thanks, I'm glad. So we're gonna throw these guys in at the last minute. So I'm gonna do 2 stalks of scallion, and I'm just gonna do all of this basil since some of it's starting to turn, and we're just gonna go ahead and use it all. So we're going to use the greens and the whites. What we'll do is we'll throw the whites in right now because they take a little bit longer to cook. The greens are a little bit more mild and just are great to kind of top things with, just to give it a little fresh kick there at the end, kind of like herbs. The scallions are super cheap. They're usually, you know, less than $1 at the grocery store, and they actually have some great nutrition benefits. They're in the onion family, and so we know that onions serve as a prebiotic, which helps to feed the probiotics, or the healthy bacteria, in our digestive system, and so it keeps us feeling good, it keeps us regular, helps to reduce inflammation in our body, helps enhance our immune system, so lots of great benefits from the onion family. I feel like they're an underrepresented vegetable because they're usually white. Okay, so we're gonna throw these in here right now. And let's go ahead and give this a stir. Looks like it's simmering at the moment. For those of you that are just tuned in, we've got some panko in the oven, or sorry, some panko okra in the oven right now. And that is going to be a side for our shrimp and veggie stew tonight. This is looking good. Smells good too. We're gonna keep these guys open. We might need a little bit more of something else. I'm not quite sure yet. Is anybody growing herbs right now in their yard? I know we have a couple people on the show who are doing basil and parsley. I think someone's doing lavender. So one thing that I learned about the basil plant, which I can't really bring one in, but if you're not aware, I just learned this about how to prune your basil plant. So you've got the one long thick stem that comes through the top or comes through the middle, and then sometimes you'll have offshoots, but if you have just the one thick stemmed plant, when it gets about 6 inches high, you want to snip it under the 4th set. And so a set is basically leaves that come out in 2s like that. So like those 2, that's a set. Those 2 are a set. These 2 are a set. So like if this was one basil plant, you would want to snip it under the 4th set, and that will allow it to grow into 2 little stems the next time. So then your plant, it just keeps growing out and gets bushier and bushier instead of just having this one long skinny plant. So you end up getting a lot more basil out of the one plant that you have. I thought that was interesting. I did not know that, and I've been growing basil for a couple years now, and that explains why they all just grow up straight and they don't really have much on them. Let's take it out, shall we? Woo. It's hot. All right, so this guy is boiling, which is what we want. Once it comes up to a boil, we'll knock it down to a simmer. Well, now look, I just said earlier that I hate boiling my vegetables, but this isn't exactly what I meant, because this is, I guess, technically a stew, which I guess is technically boiling. But what I'm thinking of is just boiling broccoli and then throwing some butter and salt and pepper on it and calling it a vegetable side. That's kind of what I meant. Instead of taking the okra out, I'm turning the oven off and I'm just gonna let them hang out in there. Let's go ahead and get these shrimp in. So some of these guys are peeled and some of them are not. I'm gonna go ahead and leave the shell. Well, no, I'm gonna take the shell off real quick. If you can just buy, peeled and deveined shrimp to make this process a little bit easier. Actually, okay, I'm changing my mind again. I'm kind of all over the place tonight. I'm gonna leave them in the shell. And we'll just peel them and eat them when we take them out of the stew. You can do it however you want. But I will say, shrimp do not take very long to cook. So once you throw them into this stew, they're gonna be ready in less than 5 minutes, so just make sure that you've got everything else that you want ready. Looking at your cabinets makes me think it would be fun to do a kitchen tour one night. Show us how you stock your pantry, store stuff, what staples you keep on hand. That's a great idea. I'd love to do that. If you guys are interested in that, absolutely. My pantry is kind of a mess, but happy to go through staples because I think that's a really important thing to know about. It makes cooking so much easier if you know what to keep on hand. Yes, thank you, Lindsay, for letting me know. Right. We'll do a little taste test of the broth here. Oh yeah. Oh, I like it. And see, I don't really feel like I need to add anything else to that. So again, it was a teaspoon of the Better Than Bouillon veggie paste, 3 cups of water, which we actually didn't add more, and then about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. So you could always add a couple, more tablespoons of tomato paste if you wanted to deepen the flavor. You could add a little bit of salt if you wanted to. There is going to be some salt in that veggie base. Treat it like stock because it's basically the same thing. So it's going to have all those good things in there, all those tasty things like salt. Okay, last little bit, we're just going to throw in our basil and our scallion for a little bit of freshness. Ooh. Having some nice bread on the side would be good with that too. I actually have some. I might toast some up after. But for now, let's just go ahead and we'll dish this up. Make sure you get a nice serving of vegetables in here. And let this cool off before I actually try to dive in and eat it. Oh yeah, look at that. And you can always top it with a little more of your scallion and your basil, all that good stuff. So there you have it. Nice shrimp and veggie stew. And then I will taste test some okra for you. You hear that crunch? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crispy. Hi Erin, I just saw that you tuned in. I hope you're doing well. We just wrapped up all of our wonderful dishes. So we have some panko breaded okra here. Panko breaded okra. Saying that 3 times fast is very difficult. Try it. And then we also have the stew on the left there. Sauteed onions, peppers, garlic, a little bit of veggie stock, tomato paste, shrimp, of course, basil, and scallion. So there we go. I hope you guys try this at home. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you did any modifications. Those are always fun to hear about. And I love when you guys do that because I always encourage people to, modify recipes, make them your own, personalize them. As long as you stick to the basic kind of food group components so that you're balancing your macronutrients, then it's still going to be a healthy meal. You're just going to get different micronutrients because you're using different kinds of vegetables or different kinds of proteins. So all that good stuff sticks when you keep it balanced like that. All right, well that wraps up my time on Cook With Me TV this week. Come back tomorrow. We have Jennifer on at 6 p.m. She's doing a nice green goddess pasta salad, which sounds really good. And then at 7, we've got Olivia who is back. She's with the Low Country Street Grocery here in Charleston. She is cooking up cioppino, which is a seafood stew with lots of different kinds of seafood. So if you're a seafood fan, you definitely want to tune in for that one. Look out on Friday. We post our new set of recipes on Friday. You can grab them from our website. And you can also, like I said earlier, add those recipes into your shopping list, auto-generate your grocery list on the website, and use that grocery list in the store to make for stress-free grocery shopping, which I know we all want. All right. Thanks again, guys, and I will see you next week.